Welcome back to the show. I love meeting Bitcoin founders and learning about developments in the space. And joining me today is Alex Busarov. He is the co-founder of Heatbit. And I cannot wait to hear about this because I actually saw a flyer about this product when I went to Miami last year. I didn't need it at the time. It was very hot in Miami. But this is fascinating. So you can mine Bitcoin at home while you heat it?
Yeah. It doesn't take too much. You take the device, you plug it in, press the button, and you're a miner.
Okay, so first, before we get into this, because this is fascinating and it's turned on right now, it's mining Bitcoin. Tell us about your background. You're from Russia?
Yeah, I grew up in southern Russia. I went to university in the UK. Since then, I lived in quite a few countries in the Middle East. Last 10 years, I actually lived in China.
What?
And now I'm moving to Southeast Asia.
Wow, and how did you get into Bitcoin?
Actually, first time I remember reading something about Bitcoin was when I started working. That was in 2008. I just graduated. And that was my first job. And then the financial crisis started, and we all had to deal with that. And I remember reading about Bitcoin. I said, this is interesting. But then, the job kind of took over. I was busy with that. And I probably got into Bitcoin quite a bit later when, back in 2020, actually how Heatbit started. Back in 2020, we were all under lockdown with COVID. It was getting boring. I bought myself a toy, which happened to be an Antminer S9K.
Oh.
It's a miner just to play with. And I turned it on in my bedroom. First, it got really loud. Then it got really hot. And then I thought, oh, this could be a good heater if you solve the noise problem. So I have quite a bit of background with energy, my first job was related to that, and I thought, well, this could be a great device, and that's how Heatbit started, and that's how I started getting more and more into Bitcoin since then.
It's crazy to think that people used to be able to just mine on their computers, and then it moved to these very sophisticated application-specific devices, but now mining is moving into other genres that I did not expect, like even a product at home that can heat. So, I mean, how much Bitcoin can you actually mine with something like this at home? Because I always thought Bitcoin's too expensive to mine, especially if you're living in a suburban city in the United States. It's out of reach because it's too expensive due to the energy.
To a large extent, you'd be correct. It depends on how you actually mine in this case, right? So if you think of it as a miner and you think of the energy, the electricity that you spend on mining, you're going to have a residential power rate of about 15 cents per kilowatt hour. In the US, that's the average. And then it's prohibitively expensive compared to the large miners. But if you heat with electricity, then you heat with electricity anyway. You spend that energy anyway. Instead of just turning that electricity into heat, you could mine at the same time. This way, some people get confused with it, but this way you don't actually use any extra energy for mining. So in that sense, the cost of mining for you, if you use it with heating, is the cost of buying the device.
Really?
So if you thought of buying a Dyson, let's say, for something like $800, and instead bought this, then the cost of mining for you is zero because it costs the same, uses the same amount of energy, gives you the same amount of heat, but you get the sats on top.
Okay, so I thought that maybe if you plug in a device, I mean, whether it's an S9 or something like this, that it would just surge your energy bill, but that's not the case.
Whatever electricity that you use, it turns into heat.
Okay.
Whether you do it with a usual heater, whether you use it with the miner, doesn't really matter. So as long as you could use an S9 in the same way, as long as you use it to get just enough heat that you need just to feel comfortable, then you'd pay that bill anyway.
Coin Stories is brought to you by Bitdeer, where the power of Bitcoin mining is at your fingertips. As a publicly traded leader, Bitdeer's global reach and scale means they're everywhere you need them to be, ensuring you're part of the thriving Bitcoin economy. Bitdeer's not just mining, they are industry pioneers, and Bitdeer stands alone as the only vertically integrated, technology-focused Bitcoin mining company. They're not just deploying, but developing the latest tech to make Bitcoin mining more efficient and effective. Now they're leveraging years of expertise in data center and cloud management into high-performance computing through a recently announced partnership with NVIDIA. Join Bitdeer in reshaping the world of Bitcoin mining. Learn more at bitdeer.com and explore how they are pioneering the future today. Well, I've been in some mining facilities. They are very loud. And I mean, the reason that it generates this heat, right, is the computers are just guessing these massive numbers. And now that I understand Bitcoin mining, it's so much simpler than I originally thought, right? It's you're just guessing numbers. It's like a lottery. But yours is very quiet. It sounds like you can barely hear it. How did you guys do that?
Well, it takes a lot of blood and sweat and tears. I think that's what we have a lot of inside of our engineering team. But generally, it's having a good miner inside. For this device, we actually had to build our own miner so that it would fit well. Then it's using powerful enough fan and not overclocking it too much, so you don't have too much of the airflow. And then it's quiet. Right now, it's actually hashing at 10 terahash, so that would be giving you about half of the power bill it would be covering starting from end of this week after the halving. Right now, it would actually cover 100% of your power bill.
Now, do you like direct this to a mining pool?
Yep. Right now, it goes to a nice hash mining pool.
Okay.
But we plan to add the user's own choice of the mining pool, so users could just pick which mining pool they like, and that would go.
Well, a lot of people are concerned about centralization risks. There are very few mining pools. There are a lot of companies that have grown very large within the Bitcoin mining space.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? I mean, does this help sort of mitigate something like that? Because every individual, they can run a node and they can also use a heater to mine Bitcoin?
Sure. I think there's actually a lot of issues that we see with the centralization of mining. Mining pools is one thing, and there's certain solution that's coming out with that. There are solo mining pools now. There are mining pools that enable a lot more decentralization. Ocean Pool recently came out. It's been quite famous, right? So I think this is something that will be solved by people who make the mining pools. I think a bigger risk is actually coming with the large miners, which are out there right now. There's if you take just the 10 of the large miners, they control a very, very big chunk of the whole mining today, and that's a problem. That's a problem in many ways. It's a problem because it's just centralizing the mining, and the whole idea and the value of the system is in it being decentralized, and they kind of pushing it the other way. In fact, as the competition intensifies with the halving, etc., it's probably going to have to get even more centralized, and it's going to be even more of an issue. Then, in terms of any kind of government action and censorship, etc., it can become even more of an issue if the mining is centralized. Right, we've all seen what happened in China in 2021 when the mining was banned. The hash rate went down by something like 40% within a matter of months, and that's the security of the system. It went down within a month with the decision of one fairly big government body, but still, it's just one centralized body. And then what I also see, and that's what people don't talk about much, is the large miners, very often they're very much leveraged, right? So what they're leveraged against the price of Bitcoin and the performance within the mining that they do. So if at any point the price of Bitcoin goes down, what we might see is a lot of bankruptcies of these companies. And what happens then? Well, the hash rate goes down again, and that could happen very, very quickly. We've all seen what happened with companies like Core Scientific in 22, right, when there was a series of bankruptcies. So you get all of these issues that people, frankly, I think they don't talk about as much. And then on top of that is the energy consumption, right? The one of the biggest challenges that the society as a whole has put to the Bitcoin is the energy consumption of the mining. Now, the response of the large mining companies so far has been that, well, X%, I've seen different numbers from 50%, 80%, whatever, large percent of the mining is actually renewable, and therefore it's okay. Frankly, that argument is actually flawed. Because if that energy didn't go into mining, it would go to the grid. And if it went to the grid, it would push out any of the dirtier power generation, coal mining, etc. So this argument doesn't really work very well. The only real way to make mining a lot greener is by combining it with other uses like heating. It could be space heating, water heating. There's all sorts of industrial heating applications. And then you have some other attempts with things like stranded gas, where you have like untapped energy sources that you turn into heat, and those could work as well. But the really big ones is when you combine it with other things like we do. There's other companies who do this.
How do you market this type of product to a large audience that doesn't even understand Bitcoin?
Oh, that's actually one of the beauties of these products. So to use this, you don't need to understand Bitcoin.
You just need a heater.
You need a heater. There's about 3 billion people in the world
Right.
Who have heaters. And this is one of the big parts of our vision, that why can everyone who has a heater, why can't they be a Bitcoin miner? That would make the network very centralized. It would make the network not use any extra energy than the society uses anyway. And frankly, once you're a miner, even if at first you don't understand Bitcoin, but then you kind of get a benefit of it, at some point you start learning, and maybe there's a bit of orange peeling happening along the way as well.
How did you come up with the design? Because when I look at it, I feel like it looks like the base of a rocket ship, and it just should have like the
I think fortunately for us, it wasn't me coming up with the design, because my design sense is terrible. And it was one of our industrial designers who came up with the concept first. This guy has won quite a few awards before, like a Red Dot Design Award in Germany. And he got some inspiration. He drew it. At first, it was actually meant to be a lot smaller. It was meant to be about this tall.
And why isn't it?
But then the engineering team came in and say, well, we do have some restrictions, and the fan needs to be this big, and the miner needs to be this big, and then it kind of grew. So at first, we call it Heatbit Mini, and at first it seemed like a good idea, because it's actually our second product. Our first product was about this tall.
Oh, wow.
So we thought, okay, now it was supposed to be much smaller. This is going to be a Heatbit Mini. And then we're like, well, it's not really a mini, is it?
It's just crazy to think what the future will look like with maybe different appliances and things in our home potentially mining Bitcoin. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yes. It's in one way. I mean, it may be a little bit of a stretch, but in one way, this is a bit of a revolution in home appliances. Think of it this way. At first, you started getting home appliances that were powered by electric power, right? You would have the fridge, you would have the TV, you would have a hairdryer, whatnot. Then a big step in those appliances was having a remote control, right? In 50s, I think, or 60s, right, started coming out. And that was quite a bit of a change in terms of how people actually use the home appliances. Then the next big thing happened already after 2000, when they started calling them smart. And smart meant that it was somehow connected to some information system, like the internet, Wi-Fi, and that it could be controlled completely remotely, whatnot. Now, your home appliances can actually give you a bit of income.
It's crazy.
I think it's bigger than the remote.
I think I have an idea. I think I know how we're going to get the women into Bitcoin. Have you heard of the Dyson Airwrap? These things, every girl wants one. It's kind of a decision. Like, do you spend your money on Bitcoin, the Satoshis, or do you buy the Dyson? What if your Dyson mined Bitcoin? Could you do a hairdryer?
I don't think Dyson has a model that would mine Bitcoin yet, but
I think there's an idea here.
It's time for a quick break to hear these messages from my partners who make this podcast possible. Next up, Bitcoin 2024, the world's largest Bitcoin conference, is coming to Nashville this July. Join us for 3 amazing days of keynotes, panels, networking events, and my Women of Bitcoin brunch. Head to b.tc/conference and use the code HODL for 10% off. Next up, Speed Bitcoin Lightning Wallet, one of the fastest growing Bitcoin wallets out there. Speed is a secure, low-cost way to send and receive Bitcoin instantly. Download Speed using the QR code on the screen or the link in my show notes. Next up, Coinkite. Coinkite makes everything you need to safely self-custody your Bitcoin, including the Coldcard wallet. Head to their site in my show notes and get a 5% discount with promo code CoinStories. And finally, the why of Bitcoin is easy to grasp, but the how can be so confusing. The Bitcoin Way is a professional Bitcoin IT and security team offering personalized one-on-one support that guides you through cold storage, setting up nodes, inheritance planning, privacy best practices, and more. Set up your free 30-minute consultation today. All right, back to the show.
What are the chances that one of these gets an entire Bitcoin block?
Um, it would be like winning a bit of a lottery, just
But
like
it's
with
possible.
any solo mine. Yeah,
But it's literally
it is
possible.
Yeah.
Just the chances are really small.
Yeah. It generates right now. It generates about $1 a day. So if we count in dollar terms, a block after halving is gonna be what, about $200,000. So it's within a particular day, it's about 1 to 200,000 chances. Within a particular month, it's 1 to 10,000.
Is there like an average that people are earning per month using one of these?
Yeah, that's what I said. Right now, it would be about $1 a day. Obviously,
Okay.
with the fluctuation of the price of Bitcoin, it
Got
would
it.
vary. But at some point, it becomes not very important, because if you don't think of it as a miner, but think of it as a heater, and
Yeah.
we market it as a heater, it is a heater, then whatever you get on top is just
like
extra.
Discount, yeah. No, it's really interesting. Okay, before we start to wrap up, what has it been like being a founder in this space? Like, is it easy? Is it more challenging than maybe other industries that you're familiar with?
There are pros and cons. I think I think it's all about the community. You get a lot of very dedicated people who support you. We had people buying and paying the full price for the devices way before we even had the device. And that's there's an incredible amount of trust that people put to us. And that was super important for us. That's how we actually started to really push this business. We saw that trust. We saw that people actually want what we're building. At the same time, if you don't deliver, let's say you don't deliver on time, and we had, like any hardware business, we had quite a few delays. People can get pretty, I wouldn't say aggressive, but pretty challenging with what you do. And if you start losing that trust, it kind of gets difficult. I think we had a lot of people, like if we didn't deliver on time, we had a lot of people would say, "Oh, Heatbit is a scam," and we're like, "But we've been working day and night. Why are you calling us a scam?" But now, as the device is in people's hands, I think it's all a very shiny future.
What does it mean to you to work in this space and help the Bitcoin network grow and help provide it to more people?
It's exciting. It's exciting for me in two ways. One is it helps to build a very new financial system that is very empowering for the society overall. And two, we're not only building it for the people who are already within the ecosystem. Like we said, right? There's a few billion people who use an electric heater, and we're essentially enabling them to join, maybe even join their ecosystem before even realizing that they did.
So how much is a Heatbit, and where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter. If they go to heatbit.com, there's our Twitter right there. They can buy the device there as well. It's $800 right now. We're going to increase the prices a little bit before the next season though. Yeah, can reach me through Twitter. I think that would be useful.
Well, I could have really used this in the winter that I had in St. Louis. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your product. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Coin Stories. If you're listening on the Fountain app, you can show your support and share your thoughts by sending a boost. Last month's top episode was with Peter Schiff. At Jay's boosted 10,000 sats and said, "We're sailing from Panama to Tahiti, and thanks to the digital world, I'm able to listen to your podcast and reply and boost it." It's amazing Peter talks about digital photos, but doesn't get digital money. Oh, I agree with you at Jay's. I love reading and replying to your boost, so download Fountain on iOS or Android today and make sure you're subscribed to Coin Stories. This show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Nothing should constitute as official investment advice, and you should always do your own research. My inbox is open if you want to share feedback or guest suggestions. Just reach out at Natalie@talkingbitcoin.com. I'll see you next time.